What's going on, everyone? Today we're gonna be making some brownies. We're gonna be making these brownies homemade because there's no flavor and there's no taste just like it. Today I'm gonna remove you from those boxes that you've been gripping onto. It's just like chasing waterfalls. We're not here for it. We're here to make some homemade brownies. We're gonna use our homemade ingredients, whether it be eggs, brown sugars, and caramel. And it's just gonna be something that you really enjoy. It's just something about making things homemade versus getting into a box, especially when you're making it for your friends and family. So if you're ready to try the best brownies that you ever had, come and join me in the kitchen and let's get started. First, we're gonna position a rack in the center of the oven and preheat the oven to 350. We're gonna lightly butter the bottom and sides of an 8-inch squaring baking pan. Fold a 17-inch long strip of aluminum foil, preferably non-stick, lengthwise to fit the bottom and up the two sides of the pan, letting the excess foil hang over the sides and use them as handles. We're going to dust the sides of the pan with flour and tap out the excess. Don't be scared to put extra flour in there, it won't ruin the final product. Next, we're going to melt half a cup of butter into a saucepan. Make sure you stir continuously so we don't really form brown butter. We just want this completely liquefied before we dump our chocolate chips in. Of course, once we finish that, we're going to go ahead and remove our saucepan from the stove and proceed to add in our chocolate chips to there. The chocolate chips is what gives it its gooey flavor, so we want to make sure that it's very well mixed. I don't like to go cheap when it comes to chocolate chips. I want to make sure that I'm getting a good product because I think the gooiness of the brownies is what really drives the flavor in. Alternatively, you can use cocoa powder, but cocoa powder gives it more of a cakey taste, more so than a gooey taste. So if you really prefer to have prefer to have brownies that are gooey, then use chocolate chips. But if you want to have more of a cakey type of brownie, then feel free to substitute our chocolate chips with cocoa powder instead. It will just have a cake finish and won't really taste like what I'm making today, but it's still gonna taste like a really good brownie. So whatever you want, you know, sometimes you just gotta customize things to how you like it. But me personally, I love the gooiness of the chocolate chips. Next, we're gonna go ahead and drop in our 2 room temperature eggs. It's very important that we use room temperature eggs and not eggs that are just freshly out the fridge. Now, the easiest way to do this is to let the eggs stand out of the refrigerator for about 30 to 45 minutes. But if you're in a crunch for time or you just forget to do this, just put the uncracked eggs in a bowl of hot tap water and let them stand for about 3 to 5 minutes, just enough for them to lose their chill. Then you can crack the eggs and proceed with our recipe. From here, we're going to go ahead and add in the remainder of our ingredients. That means we're going to add in our brown sugar, we're going to add in our vanilla extract and our flour, baking soda and salt, and we're just going to continue to stir all these ingredients until they're nice and smooth. Once you get all the ingredients mixed all together, scrape it all into the pan and make sure you get every bit of chocolate goodness inside of that 8-inch pan that we prepared before we began our journey into baking here. I like to make sure that it's nice and smooth on top, or at least as smooth as it can possibly be, just so it looks like a good aesthetic product. If you've been watching my videos before, you know one of my rules is if a food looks good, you're gonna want to eat it. So put the extra time to make sure it's smooth, and trust me, you'll love the end result. Position a rack in the center of the oven and preheat the oven to about 350 degrees. Once it's ready, go ahead and put our mix inside the oven and let it cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. The goal of this is just to make sure that a few crumbs are hanging out there and it's nice and crispy over at the top. Now, while that's sitting into the oven, we do have to take care of our caramels. Do you say caramel or do you say caramel? Y'all let me know in the description below. That's an argument I always have. But anyway, we're gonna heat the caramels and heavy whipping cream in a heavy saucepan over a low heat. I like to go ahead and chop up the caramels just so it's a little bit easier for me to mix. If you find that the texture or the consistency isn't exactly where you want it to be, feel free to add in additional heavy cream. You want it to be a little bit liquidy, but not too much. It should take about 4 minutes in total for it to be done. So initially, I put in about a tablespoon of heavy whipping cream, and I didn't think the consistency was enough for me. So I just added in about half a tablespoon in afterwards just to get that consistency. That's just proof that sometimes that what a recipe calls for is not exactly what may work for you. So you have to be able to be flexible when it comes to certain recipes. And this I caught a little bit of audible. I was like, I need a little bit more heavy whipping cream. I want it to literally drip off the spoon when I do that. I don't want it to be all clunky and hard as if it wasn't caramel sauce. Like, I want it saucy and drippy. And I don't know, I'm thinking of a whole bunch of acronyms. Caramel is like one of my favorite flavors ever, so I really care about getting caramel right. Okay. Once that's finished, you're gonna drizzle the caramel mixture over the pastry. Sprinkle some salt on top too as well. And if you have any chips, you can do that as well. Just add them on top. I didn't do that. I just added the salt on there myself with the salt and caramel. But if you want to add some additional chocolate chips, knock yourself out. Lift the handles to safely remove them. That's why we left the foil on the edges so you can easily pop that out there. And from there, you can cut up your brownies into 9 separate pieces. If you want to be fancy with it, you can cut off the edges of the actual brownies too as well. So that way you got some nice square looking brownies. However, I'm a fat kid at heart, so I make sure to leave those because I want every bit of chocolate inside. So let's see how it tastes. So funny enough, when I first recorded this initially, I was really excited to eat these brownies and make a bunch of noises, but the audio is horrible. So I'm gonna recreate that. It's like, yummy, yummy, yummy. But in all seriousness, this brownie was so delicious, guys. It didn't really take that long to make. I mean, you may think that you never met a brownie you didn't like, but these are brownies to love. These chunky bars are the perfect combination of cakey and fudgy and have topping of caramel, and you can also add the chocolate chips and the salt just to accentuate the flavor. The salt is just going to enhance the flavor of it. It doesn't make it salty. You don't even taste it. It just brings it all together. This is just another recipe for you to have on file when you need a quick treat, or you want to whip up something for your friends and families that really gonna amaze them of how good of a cook you are. And I think that's what it's all about. The more love that you put inside your food, the better it's gonna be. But if you like this video today, please leave me a like and let me know, is it caramel or caramel? How do you feel about that? We're gonna be uploading another variation of this brownie recipe real soon, and I wanna make sure that you're drinking water. We need to stay hydrated and we're not drinking water enough. But if you stuck along this long, I'm gonna leave you a special treat. We're gonna leave a little B-roll montage just to show what goes down in the kitchen. Until next time, guys, I love y'all and have a great day.